It's another rainy day in the Philadelphia area. What else is new? But there is some brightness. The Philadelphia Phillies finally got a win. They won in walk-off fashion against the Chicago Cubs, a really good Chicago Cubs team. They beat them 4-3 in that series opener at Citizens Bank Park at home against the Cubs. Last night on Monday, they snapped a 5-game losing streak, and it was just a much-needed win for the Phillies, especially the way that it happened with the walk-off, because that is how you build momentum, and hopefully that energy, that momentum carries in to today against the Cubs and just for the foreseeable future, because this Phillies team was going through a very, very tough losing skid, a very, very tough stretch of games where they couldn't hit, couldn't field, couldn't do anything on the base paths, couldn't pitch. It was just very horrible to watch. I mean, yesterday's game was not perfect. There were still some base running errors. Still couldn't take full advantage at the plate in their opportunities. But they came away with the late innings, extra innings, walk-off win to defeat the Chicago Cubs. Like I said, a very good Cubs team, 4-3. Welcome into Phillies Daily, guys. I'm your host, Mike Kennelly. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Phillies content to keep on hearing what I have to say about the Philadelphia Phillies. Hope you guys enjoy this. Like I said, the Phillies did get a huge walk-off win against the Chicago Cubs last night on Monday to kick off this 3-game series. And it was just, textbook fundamental baseball there at the end of the game by the Philadelphia Phillies. Neither team scored in the 10th inning, so it went to an 11th inning, which is pretty rare these days in baseball with the runner starting on second base to start extra innings. I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy to score that run, but a lot of teams most of the time find ways to be able to get that run home, obviously in scoring position with no outs to start an inning. Neither the Cubs nor the Phillies could do that in the 10th. It went to the 11th. The Cubs did score one run in their half at the top of the 11th inning to make it a 3-2 Cubs lead going into the bottom half of the Phillies inning in the 11th. And what do you know? First, JT Realmuto gets a huge RBI single to score the tying run to make it 3-3. Then Bryson Stott hasn't had a great year at the plate, but he laid down a perfect bunt down the third base line, and he beat it out for an infield single. So not only did he get advanced JT Realmuto into scoring position to second base, but he reached safely to first to make it first and second with no outs in a tied 3-3 game, just needing pretty much a base hit to win the game. And then Otto Kemp, the call-up from AAA that came up with Bryce Harper hitting the IL the other day. Otto Kemp had a career day at the plate. Obviously, a very short major league career for Otto Kemp so far, but he also laid down a beautiful bunt on the third base side, just like Bryson Stott had done the previous batter. And what do you know? Otto Kemp also beat it out for an infield single. So everybody was safe. Bases loaded for the Phillies with no outs. Really anything can score that run from third base. Otto Kemp, like I said, career day so far for him. He went 3 for 5 in his first game at Citizens Bank Park at the major league level. And it was pretty cool after the game. They interviewed him post-game, Tom McCarthy, John Kruk. And Otto Kemp had mentioned that he purposely never came to Citizens Bank Park because he wanted to feel the atmosphere, the electric crowd, and just that amazing feeling that Philadelphia brings, that energy, for the first time when he was playing there under the lights. And it was just an incredible feeling for him. Anyway, after Otto Kemp laid down that bunt to make a base load of no outs for the Phillies in a tie 3-3 game, Brandon Marsh, who's also had a very, very down year at the plate for the Phillies, he hit a walk-off single to win the game 4-3. He hit it hard, right, perfect swing, perfect, just launched it out to deep left center field. And like I said, it was a single because obviously the run scores and that ends the game. So it's 4-3. Phillies win. Walk-off, just amazing textbook baseball at the end of the game with those two beautiful bunts. JT Realmuto kicking it off with that RBI single to get that first run home to tie it up. And then Brandon Marsh obviously winning the game, coming up clutch for the Phillies. And then to start off that game, Zach Wheeler. He kept the Phillies in the game, obviously. Whenever he's on the mound, you know it's going to be a good day. He's one of the best pitchers in all of Major League Baseball. Zach Wheeler returned to the mound after being on the paternity list for a few days there. His wife, Dominique, had a new baby, so congrats to Zach Wheeler and Dominique on their new baby. Great stuff. But Zach Wheeler returned to the mound after that, and he was just purely dominant per usual. His first start, obviously, last night back against the Cubs. 6 innings, 3 hits, just 1 walk, 1 earned run, and he had 7 strikeouts in his first start back in this Phillies win. Kept them in the game against a very good Cubs team, a very good Cubs lineup. Zach Wheeler also recorded his 1,000th career strikeout as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. He is now the 10th player in Phillies history to reach the 1,000 strikeout mark. He joins elite company in Steve Carlton, Robin Roberts, Cole Hamels, his teammate Aaron Nola, Chris Short, Curt Schilling, Grover Alexander, Jim Bunning, and Kurt Simmons. And now Zach Wheeler is the 10th Philadelphia Philly all-time to reach 1,000 career strikeouts. So not only congrats to Zach Wheeler on his new baby, but congrats to Zach Wheeler on a dominant start back from the paternity list and 1,000 strikeouts as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. I expect nothing else than seeing Zach Wheeler going out there and dominate every time he takes the mound, and yesterday was no different for the Phillies ace. He is not the only Mr. 1000 this year for the Phillies. If you remember, Bryce Harper, the superstar first baseman, he recorded his 1000th career RBI earlier this season. So Zach Wheeler, Mr. 1000, 1000 strikeouts as a Philly. Bryce Harper, Mr. 1000, 1000 career RBIs in Major League Baseball. Now, not everything's always sunshine and rainbows. It's not always sunny in Philadelphia. But with that being said, I wish I could just talk about everything great with the Phillies from yesterday, but it just is not that case. The bullpen continues to be an issue, and it's even more alarming that a guy like Matt Strahm has not had his best stuff so far in 2025. He's having a down year compared to his All-Star season last year in 2024, in which he had a 1.87 ERA and 79 strikeouts in 62 and two-third innings for the Phillies last year in that All-Star season. Opponents were hitting just 166 against Matt Strahm last year. Now this year, after last night's game, Matt Strahm is now 1-3 with a 3.62 ERA in 27 and a third innings so far in 2025. He's got 2 saves, but in 5 opportunities. So not perfect out there as a late inning guy for the Phillies, high leverage guy, and opponents are hitting 245, significantly higher than the 166 they hit against him last year in his All-Star season. And speaking of last night's ballgame, Matt Strahm did come in for the 8th inning against the Cubs. He allowed a game-tying home run to Ian Happ in that 8th inning, and it wasn't just scraping over the fence. Ian Happ launched it. He demolished it 424 feet against Matt Strahm to tie it up there 2-2 at the time in the 8th inning. He also allowed a walk in the 8th inning, so just not a good inning by Matt Strahm with the home run to tie it up and a walk as well. Going back to that home run, he allowed just 4 home runs total in 2024 last year, and with that home run last night allowed to Ian Happ, he is now up to 3 already. It's only June 10th today. We're not even at the All-Star break, and he's just 1 away from tying his home runs allowed from all of last year in 2024. Like I said, the bullpen issues were already alarming from really the start of the season, and then got hit even harder when Jose Alvarado got that 80-game suspension and playoff ineligibility for performance-enhancing drugs. And now your top guy in Matt Strahm, your top high-leverage late inning guy, just not having his best stuff in 2025. They need to make significant upgrades at the trade deadline. You can't just bring in 1 reliever. They're going to have to bring in 2 solid guys in the bullpen to really compete with these teams as you get into the playoffs, as you make that playoff push. If you're trying to win a World Series, you can't just roll out what they have now. You can't just get 1 guy. You got to get 2. They got 2 guys last year in Tanner Banks and Carlos Estevez, but you really need even better options than what you traded for last year in those guys. You really need 2 guys on Carlos Estevez level, if not better. You can't really bring in an Estevez and a Banks. They need very, 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 very much needed help in that bullpen down this stretch, heading into the second half of the season and the playoff push. One guy that they could look at on a very struggling team that's clearly going to be sellers at the deadline, the Colorado Rockies have had a horrible season in 2025. You've seen that when the Phillies played them. They are just 12-53. 12 wins so far in 2025 for the Rockies. They have the worst record in Major League Baseball by a pretty large margin right now. But they do have some solid players. So one of those players is Jake Bird. Jake Bird is a right-handed reliever for the Rockies. He's 29 years old. He has a 1.49 ERA with 45 strikeouts so far in 2025, and he's thrown 36 and a third innings so far. So a 1.49 ERA, incredibly impressive, especially on a team like the Rockies. He's one of their lone bright spots so far in 2025. He's mostly used as a middle to late inning reliever. Maybe that changes if the Phillies were to acquire him. Maybe he could get in there to more late inning relieving opportunities, along with Matt Strahm, Orion Kirkring, Jordan Romano. He's mostly appeared in the 6th and 7th innings so far in 2025. Like I said, maybe that changes on a different team. Maybe that continues that role with his new team if he were to be traded. Now, like I said, the Rockies will clearly be sellers with a 12-53 record in 2025. But Jake Bird may come at a high price. There's going to be a lot of teams. There's always a lot of teams every year looking for bullpen help. That's one of the areas that every team can always use help at, can always upgrade at for a playoff push, for a championship push. Jake Bird still has 3 years of arbitration eligibility left, so he's got club control. He's not going to be a free agent until after the 2028 season in 2029. But like I said, he is 29 years old, so he is getting up on the older side, even though he has this club control left for 3 more years. He also hasn't had the best track record so far in his professional Major League Baseball career. His first 3 seasons with the Rockies, they were all over 4 ERA, and his first season was close to a 5 ERA. So this 1.49 ERA this year in 2025 is a bit of an outlier so far. Maybe he's developing, maybe he's found his stride, and he's actually going to be an all-star worthy reliever for the foreseeable future. But who knows? He's 29 years old. Like I said, he had 3 years to start his career, over a 4 ERA. Wasn't the best guy out there, but he does have these 3 years of club control left. So, and with a lot of teams looking for bullpen help, it could increase his trade value. But who knows? Hopefully he could be an option, and he could come in here and help the Phillies in their struggling bullpen, in their inconsistent bullpen. But Jake Bird, he could be a realistic option for the Phillies. Like I said, they should get not only one guy like Jake Bird, but 2 guys, someone like Jake Bird and maybe somebody even better, to bring in for a championship, for a playoff push with the Phillies. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Phillies Daily. Huge win last night for the Phillies. Hopefully they can build off of that today and keep this thing rolling, get back on track, get back to their winning ways. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Phillies content from your host here, Mike Kennelly. Again, Phillies Daily. Thank you guys for watching, and go Phils.